Sherri DeMaris, and I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I actually grew up close to Gannat in New Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I've been practicing macrobiotics for over 30 years. I was lucky to study with the Waxmans in Philadelphia, and then study very closely with Michio, is where I met Gannat in level 4. And I now have a website called Kiss Your Plate.
Did I just mute you?
Yes.
Shoot, how do I undo it? Oh, Sherri, wait. I can't find your unmuter.
Unmute myself.
Oh, thank you, sorry.
So I now have a website called Kiss Your Plate, and I host a television show on the internet, which is open to everybody. You can just Google rvntv.tv, and the show is called Macromagic. It's the same title as my cookbook that Gannat mentioned. And each week I have different guests on. Neil Barnard's coming on. We have Colin Campbell hopefully coming on, and Tom Monty, and a host of book authors and macrobiotic teachers, and just people in the health field, similar to what Gannat does. And I also every Thursday host a lecture with Ed Esco, who's one of the macrobiotic teachers who's written a number of books. And you might have seen him yesterday. He did a lecture on the coronavirus. That's every Thursday night, but we do record it if you ever want a copy of the recording. And I just want to share with you some like really simple tips and macrobiotic dishes in the kitchen, because I know sometimes it's really time consuming, especially if you're working, to get in 3 healthy square meals a day. So I thought I'd show you one really quick dish called a nabe. And this is really fun if you just come home and you have leftover noodles and some vegetables and you want to throw it together in your pot. We're going to do that. And then yesterday I listened to a little bit of the seminar, and I heard people asking about agar-agar. So I'm going to show a simple dessert. I call it in my book Mellow Jello. And it's just a very cooling dessert, especially when you're in the hot heat of the summer. It actually cools your body off. It helps with constipation. And once you learn the technique, there's 100 different ways to do it with different fruit juices and stuff. And then I have a third recipe that's not in my book that I thought would be good for people in Israel, is Fava bean hummus. So I did send the recipe to Gannat to see if she could post it. If not, you can email me at teawithsheri@AOL.com, and I'll send you a copy. Okay, so let's get started. Let me know while I'm cooking if you're okay with the camera. So it's sort of on an angle, so it should be okay for you to see. We're going to start with a nabe dish. So this is what's called a nabe pot. You can find them in Chinese stores, but just be careful because in Chinese stores, the clay sometimes has lead in it. So you want to get a good, nice quality one. Japanese ones are the best. And you can find them online. It's just a heavy clay pot, and it has a little hole in the top, and that lets the steam out. And it's a very relaxing dish. Aveline Kushi, when she was sick, she requested a lot of nabe dishes in her meals because it's very settling and very calming. So when you are, rushing around from work and stuff, and you want to come home and just relax, this is a really simple dish. Also, when you have noodles at night, it's one of the lesser foods to not digest. So if you're really hungry and you don't want to eat before you go to bed, your best bet is noodles because they dissolve very quickly and they don't give you indigestion and things like that. So to start off, we're going to just fill the pot with some water. And you know, a lot of these recipes, after you get used to it, you don't have to worry so much about measurements. As long as you've got the basic ingredients and you know what you're doing. In the bottom of the pot, we're going to put a 1-inch piece of kombu seaweed. And kombu is one of the seaweeds that grow like in a stalk. And we use kombu to cook in our beans, takes the gas out of the beans. And we put it in our rice if we don't want to use salt. And we put it in soup dishes. It's sort of like a bay leaf. It's what MSG was developed from. So we're going to put an inch of kombu, and then we soak some shiitake mushrooms in water. Now, shiitake mushrooms dried are a very great source of vitamin D. And we know for the virus right now, it's really good to have as much vitamin D as we can. So you just want to soak them for about 10 minutes until they're soft, and then slice them into small pieces. And you want to include the soaking water too. That's really important. Now, the best kind of shiitake mushroom to get is donku. It's D-O-N-K-U. They're the most medicinal. They have the greatest vitamin D in them. So, and then use the soaking water, and you pour that in. Now, this is going to be sort of like the broth that we're going to cook our vegetables in. So you want to make about an inch level of water in the bottom of the pot. If you don't put enough, the vegetables won't cook and you won't have a nice soup broth at the end. So I went to my garden yesterday and I've got little tatsoi. It's like bok choy, but it's T-A-S-O-Y, I think, tatsoi. So we're going to try that today. We're going to put in carrot, yellow squash, green beans, Chinese cabbage, some oyster mushrooms, some snap peas, and then I just took some slices of tofu and fried it in toasted sesame oil. That's all I used. We're going to cut those into cubes. So in your pot, you want to arrange the vegetables around the sides of the pot. And you want to put the heartier vegetables in first with the carrot. It takes the longest to cook. So you put that in first. I'm going to cut it into about a 1/4 inch slice. And you could put other root vegetables. You could put parsnips, daikon, whatever you like. And we're going to put, start it simmering, and then we're going to put some zucchini and yellow squash. So I'm going to put it on the stove and start it simmering. If I put all the vegetables in at first, the carrots will stay hard and the leafy greens will wilt. So you want to heat up the carrots a little bit first. Okay, so we have some, because it's summertime and it's hot, you know, when the weather gets hot, it's even fun to put lettuce, romaine lettuce in your nabe. You can put that in towards the end because, like I said, it'll wilt. But I was in Japan one year and we were oh, it was so hot in Tokyo. And we went to a macrobiotic dinner, and I remember that they had these beautiful different kinds of lettuces. They just put them all in the nabe dish, and it was so refreshing. I also got some lemon balm from my garden. So I'm going to garnish the dish with lemon balm just to make it a little lifting. While the carrots are cooking, we're going to start with the sauce. So if you can just eat your dish like this, but it's going to be a little bland. You know, we only have, what do we have for flavoring? We just have the kombu and the shiitake mushroom, right? No salt, nothing. So we want to make a little dipping sauce that we'll put on top. So we're going to take a little pot. I love little pots because I'm single and they're easy to cook with. And in the little pot, we're just going to throw some seasonings in. And again, don't worry about measurements. Just make it look like, try to think about tastes and what you like. So we're going to put, you know, we definitely want some shoyu sauce. Macrobiotics, we use shoyu, which is different from tamari. Tamari is good for people with gluten intolerant issues, but it's a little saltier. Shoyu is more mild. So shoyu is basically natural soy sauce. So I'm going to put that in about 2 tablespoons.
So Sherri, at this point in Israel, we only get tamari.
Oh, okay. Well, then just use
sauce.
less. That's all. You're fine. So about 2 tablespoons of shoyu, 2 tablespoons of mirin, because mirin's a sweet sort of liquidy seasoning that you can get from Japan, and it's very, very nice. It balances out dip sauces. And then we're going to use a little bit, okay, so we have 2 of each. We're just doing equal parts. And 2 tablespoons of brown rice vinegar. And that gives it a little bit of a lift. And we're going to put a couple drops, just to make it a little bit more Japanese feeling, of toasted sesame oil. Just a couple drops, and then we're going to put some grated ginger. Now this is a porcelain grater. You can find them at your stores. They're really easy. You don't need to buy a porcelain grater. You can just use a regular grater, but we're just grating some ginger root and squeezing it in there. So we're going to heat this up. You never want to put tamari or soy sauce right on your food. You always want to heat it up. It makes it more digestible. We're just going to simmer it a little tiny bit, not bring it to boil or anything. And while we're doing that, the carrots are cooking, so we're going to add our next vegetable, zucchini and yellow squash. And I'm just going to cut them in half round slices. And you can make these really attractive displays in your nabe. And Japanese people would put it on the burner. They'd have a little portable burner that we use for cooking class, and they'd put it on their dining room table. And while the people were talking, they would put the vegetables in and cover it up and cook it, and then eat it hot. So it's a very, I had Mary McCabe, who might be on the class today. I don't know if she is. She's a friend of mine. She was just on my TV show, and we filmed it at a winery, and she made these beautiful nabes with all these vegetables. And you can Google, you could just go to YouTube and put my name in, and you'll be able to see the show.
Yes, Mary is here with us.
Oh, okay. She she told the whole history of the nabe and how it was developed. It's a really good show, and you learn a lot. So this is the tofu that I just fried in toasted sesame oil. I put a little bit of hot sesame oil in there too, just to give it a bite. So I just fried the tofu on both sides. When you take tofu out of the water, you want to drain it and dry it off a little bit so it's not so watery. And then just put it in a hot frying pan with oil. Because we have the dipping sauce today, I didn't put any seasoning on the tofu. So I'm just going to cut the tofu into squares. This is also a great meal to put together for a family because it's so quick. You know, you just take whatever's in your fridge or in your garden and cut it up, put it in the pot, and we're going to serve it over noodles. So we'll put the tofu in, and as I'm putting these in, I'm putting them in different sections of the pot.
How spicy is that bite?
Is the what?
The bite that the spicy oil gives?
Oh yeah, spicy oil, you only use about 1 drop. Otherwise, you're really going to feel it. I'm not a real spicy person either, so. And then we're going to put the oyster mushrooms in. Now, oyster mushrooms give a really nice sort of mild taste to the dish. Just cut off the bottom. It's hard to find organics oyster mushrooms, but I don't think they spray them that much, so you don't have to worry. And I'm going to turn off the sauce in the back. Okay, so what's left is, this is, it's not a scallion, it's actually a wild onion. It's just a larger form of a scallion. So I'm going to put this in next because it takes a little bit of time to cook. I used it the other day in miso soup and I thought, oh my gosh, and this adds a lot of flavor to the dish. It's a very pungent onion. And then what's left is some snap peas, which you don't really have to slice. You can slice them almost in half, on a diagonal in half. Now you don't have to use, like I said, if you don't have snap peas or you don't have green beans or you don't have tatsoi, just pick out whatever's in your fridge. And the colors are so beautiful.
How many shiitake mushrooms did you add?
What's that?
How many shiitake mushrooms did you use?
I just used 2 because it's a bigger nabe. You can use 1 if you just want. Now this big, I have little nabes that I usually do for myself. This big nabe will feed about 4 people, 4 to 6 people actually. So traditionally what they did was in Japan, they would take the vegetables out and put new vegetables in and just keep the water boiling. So that's when you can serve it at your table. And we really encourage in the hot weather to use Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage. It's very, very refreshing. I know it's good to eat your greens every day, but if you're eating a lot of collards and kale and you're not getting some light, crispy greens, you need more water in the summer. So we're going to put those in next. And then we have our tatsoi from the garden. I'm just showing you a lot of variety for vegetables. And then we're going to put our lettuce in last, our romaine lettuce. I'm just going to put 1 piece in to show you. Now, you can serve this with any, you know, in macrobiotics, we always say a meal is at least a grain and a green. So you have your vegetables, you could choose whatever grain you want. You could serve it with couscous, quinoa, bulgur wheat salad, brown rice, white rice. Today we're just gonna serve it over noodles because I wanted to show you like a really quick meal if you come home late and you're tired and you want to put something on the stove. And you can always pre-cut these vegetables ahead of time and then just heat up the kombu and the shiitake and put them in. So we're going to leave this on simmer. The amazing thing about a nabe pot is when you turn it off, the heat stays in it. So you can turn it off and it will still keep cooking a little bit. We have our bowl of noodles. These are just really thin Italian noodles. They're not even Japanese noodles. And
Sherri, we have a question. We have a question for you, Sherri. One is to peek inside the nabe pot, and the other question is gluten-free noodles. Do you recommend anything?
Yeah, you can use gluten-free, whatever you prefer. The nabe pot, you can open and close, you know, as you're adding the vegetables. But my friend Gabor reminds everybody that and Misho used to say this, when you cook vegetables, the less you disturb them, the better, even with a stir fry. Because vegetables are slowly opening up. It's like a plant that's slowly growing. And if you're constantly stirring and constantly opening the pot, and if you're not relaxed, that energy goes into the food. So Montebello is the noodles that I purchased. They're just a nice quality Italian noodle, but they do have wheat in them. So you can use gluten-free, you can use any kind of pasta that you like. So we have this big, again, you can make the noodles ahead of time. You could cut the vegetables ahead of time. You can make the sauce in a container and let it sit. And you just come home and heat up all three. So we talked about lemon balm. I had some lemon balm in the garden. So I'm just going to put that over the noodles as a garnish. And you want to take the greens out fairly quickly because they cook. And if they sit in the pot with the cover on, they get darker and darker. So we're going to turn it off. We're going to just choose whatever vegetables we want to serve in our nabe. And again, this is such a beautiful dish. And as you can see, you can layer them all around the noodles. And then simply take a ladle and you want to scoop some of the broth from the bottom of the noodles. It's like a vegetable soup. So you put that over the noodles and then the seasoning on top. Because otherwise you won't have much flavor, right? Okay, any questions about the nabe with noodles? Any suggestions where to buy? Probably Amazon would have the best nabe dish pots. As long as you know that, you know, they're not really inexpensive, because you have to be careful of the Chinese ones that have lead in them. Okay, we'll move on to our next dish. And I'll take plenty of questions at the end too. You have them. Our next dish is, we're gonna just show you mellow jello, it's called. So some of you asked about Canton. This is from my cookbook. and you'll see the picture of peaches and oranges in a Jell-O. So I'm going to show you how to make Jell-O. So these are agar-agar flakes, or what's called Canton. And it's a white clear seaweed. It's what we used to use in chemistry or biology class to make gelatin in a petri dish. But it's very good. You can actually take a little bit of this with you on the airplane and pour hot water and drink it like a tea if you have constipation or jet lag. And what it does is it makes gelatin, but you have to put it in cold liquid first. You cannot put it in hot liquid, it won't work. So we're gonna make a simple apple juice Jell-O using this. And again, we're gonna use a little pot, and then I'm gonna show you a finished one that I made yesterday.
How does agar-agar help with jet lag?
It's not for jet lag, it's for constipation. When you travel, you know, especially on an airplane or, you know, when you're going overseas or whatever, people get constipated really easily. So agar-agar, if you have any problems with constipation, you can make it real thick too. A real thick version, just put a little lemon juice or rice syrup in it, and it will help with constipation. So we're going to put some natural organic apple juice. We're going to put a cup in. It's already measured, so. And then we're going to put, for every cup of liquid, if you want a regular formed Jell-O, use 1 tablespoon of the agar-agar. If you want a soft gelatin, use less. If you want a harder gelatin, use more. And Gnad, I think, was talking yesterday that she likes to make aspics. You can also make crumble up tofu in soy sauce and ginger, and you could actually put noodles in your aspic. You could make aspics out of carrot juice or vegetable juices. But today we're just making a dessert. So this is 1 tablespoon of the flakes. And the secret to good Jell-O is you let it sit for a little bit before you heat it up. Just don't stir it with a spoon because the flakes will stick to the spoon. But you let it just sit, shake it around a little bit, and then heat it up. So we're just gonna let this sit. Any questions about the Canton? Okay, we're going to let that sit, heat it up, and then
I have a question.
Put in cold water. Yes.
You said that you have to start it in cold water, but then when you said you travel, how are you doing that? You said something about putting hot water.
Yeah, when you travel, you're putting hot water in there to drink it just as a tea. It's not turning into a gelatin.
Oh, so you can just add the hot water when you travel.
Yeah, it's just making it liquid. It's it's dissolving it quicker, but it's helping you with your constipation. It's not to make a Jell-O.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our fava bean hummus. And Gnad, are you able to put that up on the screen or? Okay, I'm gonna read it to you and then I'll email it.
Okay.
Or Gnad has it on email, she can share it with you.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought I'd show you fava beans because so many people don't know what fava beans are and how to even cook them. You see them in the farmer's market, but you never know what to do with them.
I'll just mention that Alice Fava is here from Canada.
Hi, Alice. So fava beans come in big pods like this. You'll see them in the market. I mean, there's also canned fava beans too. And when you open them up, they have sort of like a velvet inside. They're really funky. And when you take them out, you get another pea pod. Let me just, that has a hard shell. So for years, I never knew what to do with them because this shell's pretty hard. So what you do is you just boil these for 5 minutes. Take them out of the shell, boil them 5 minutes in water. Then you're able to squish, you're able to open up this shell and squish out the insides. It's sort of gooey. So that's what I did last night. Cooked my fava beans. So we're going to put these in a blender and make some hummus with a, and usually traditionally, you guys probably know more about hummus than I do, living in the Middle East. But traditionally, you know, hummus is made with some sort of olive oil, tahini, and salt. And in macrobiotics, we use umeboshi vinegar a lot. So that gives it a little bit of zing. So we're going to combine, simple recipe, we're going to combine the fava beans with tahini and umeboshi vinegar and some lemon juice. Just going to juice this lemon and some mint from my garden. Fresh mint that was just picked. And that just sort of, again, makes it a real summertime dish, real uplifting. So we'll come over here in the blender. I'll just put it all the ingredients in. And you can, if you don't have fava beans, you can just use chickpeas for this recipe. And if you don't have umeboshi vinegar, you can just use sea salt.
Fava beans are using for falafel.
What's that?
It's used here for falafel, fava beans.
Yes, yes, yes. So falafel, you can make, you can bake falafel or you could deep fry falafel. So you can grind up, you know, they grind up sometimes just chickpeas after they soak them, or they cook the chickpeas. So you can make more of a wet type of falafel or dry. So yes, you can definitely make falafel out of the fava beans.
Only 5 minutes?
What's that?
You only cook the fava beans 5 minutes?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, once you boil them, the skins get hard and the insides get soft.
You boiled them first. Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Yes.
How long did you boil them?
5 minutes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're putting the mint in. And then we'll just add some lemon juice and umeboshi vinegar to taste.
They only need 5 minutes because they're fresh beans. They're not dried beans.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Okay.
The drier your bean is, the more you need to cook it. So if you get, I get some really fresh picked like cannelli beans. They only take 30 minutes to cook. But if I buy cannelli beans that have been on the shelf for a long time, like at a supermarket, then it takes about 45 minutes to cook. So I'm just going to add the lemon juice and umeboshi vinegar. Now to serve this, in Philadelphia, we have really wonderful sourdough bread. It's made in this place. It's really cool. It's this little place where they have mentally challenged adults live, and they have a whole factory that they make the bread. So I'm going to take a piece of sourdough bread and just put it in a steamer, because sourdough bread, if you leave it on the counter, gets a little dry and hard, and this makes it more digestible. So you're going to steam it for a couple minutes and then spread the hummus on the bread with some lettuce. And again, this is a really nice snack to have, easy, because we didn't have to cook the beans for hours, right? And I'm going to turn on the stove for my agar place too.
I'm wondering why in America they always say hummus, and here in Israel we say hummus.
Hummus. I'm learning. And let me just take out, I'm going to show you. So I wanted to
Oh, I did it again. Sherri, I muted you. Sorry.
unmute. Yesterday I made this, it has a little mint leaf, and inside I put strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, I think that's it, and I used apple juice. But again, you can do cherry juice, you could use tangerine juice, you could use apricot juice. You could make layers. You could let one layer cool and then add another and another. There's so many ways you can make Canton or Jell-O. It's just amazing, and it's so good for you. There's no sugar in it. It's good for kids, good for their teeth, very digestible, very good for people who might be in a nursing home who can't eat or swallow that well. So this is what it would look like when it gels.
But what about apple juice? Isn't that, sugary?
Yeah, it's more concentrated than eating an apple. You can cut the apple juice. You don't have to use all apple juice. You could do 1 cup of apple juice, 1 cup of water, and make it lighter. Or you could just add a little bit of lemon in it, or you can add some sweetener like rice syrup in it.
I have a question also. You mentioned at the beginning you had peaches and oranges. Did you make that in a different way than you made the apple juice one?
No, and that's why I wanted to show you. So in my cookbook, you'll see the picture of the peach and the orange. So I got an orange and a peach. We actually had peaches in season. And just boiling the apple juice and putting it on top. So this one has more berries, and this one has the oranges and the peaches.
Very colorful.
Bit of kuzu. Kuzu is a white thickener that we use that helps the digestive tract. And if you add kuzu at the end, you get a creamier Canton. It's like a heavier, creamier Canton.
Can you make the Canton with apples?
You can actually make a really hard Canton and put it in a blender with some nut butters and some sweetener and make a pudding. So last week,
if you just have fresh apples and you don't have blueberries and all the rest of them.
Yeah, you can put fresh apples in.
And you don't cook them first, you just put it in.
You don't cook, you don't have to. Yeah.
Thank you.
You can, I had all these extra blueberries last week, and I didn't know what to do with them. So I cooked them with a little bit of apple juice. So it was really a lot of blueberries in there. And then I just blended it, and it was blueberry pudding. So
I did the same. I used to have a recipe where I prepared it with apples in the apple juice, put it in the blender, and put it in a pie shell and put onions on top, and it was like just a creamy pie. It was delicious.
Now you can also make a canton out of soy milk or almond milk or amasaki and blend it too. There's an article on my website. If you go on my website under media, you can read all these recipes. And there's a recipe I made making parfaits. So you get this creamy consistency and then you layer it with nuts and fruits and berries and stuff. You can make these little parfait dishes.
How do you incorporate the kuzu?
Okay, so if I was to add kuzu to this, I'd have to let it cool first because kuzu doesn't like hot liquid. So you dissolve the kuzu a little bit in cold water and then you add it to the agar mixture and stir it till it thickens.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the 3 dishes. I wanted to show you, did everyone get the pickle video that Ganat sent out from my friend Deanie?
Deanie is here with us.
Oh, okay. Hi, Deanie. I love that. So you inspired me.
Me too, I made pickles.
I know, it was such a great video. You guys all have to watch it. I sent it to all my students.
Very good.
So I decided just to make a variety of pickles. They'll be ready tomorrow, but I put the kombu in and just put like yellow carrots, orange carrots, then broccoli, cauliflower, some turnips, and rutabaga. And so that's one of mine. And then I had some extra liquid and I just put the red radish in and some dill. So you can put different herbs in too. But it's a really good video to learn the basics and then just tweak it a little bit, with whatever vegetables you have. And these will be up in the cabinet or in the dark for a couple more days before they're done.
How do we get the video?
Ganat has it.
I sent it to you. If you are on my mailing list, you received it. And if you would like to be on the mailing list, you can receive it.
How do we get on your mailing list?
Give me your email.
I will chat it.
Okay.
Okay, when you steam your sourdough bread, you just want to take it out, before it gets super soggy. You don't want to leave it in there too much. And our hummus is done. It's just a nice consistency, just like regular chickpea hummus. You can put it on the bread with some pickles that you made and some lettuce. So that's a quick, easy, simple meal. So we're almost running out of time. Does anybody have any question you want to type in and then I'll answer? Or anything about the dishes? We are starting, I'm working with EDESCO for the International Macrobiotic Institute, and we are starting a 10-week cooking program this coming Sunday. So I'm still taking students. If anyone's interested, it's going to be all on Zoom. And then, like I said, we do the lectures every Thursday night. Anybody can join or you can get the recording. Ed talks a lot about the virus and then other topics. Eastern Standard Time, you can type into your computer like your time and figure out Eastern Standard Time. If you want to be on my mailing list, you just go on my website, kissyourplate.com, and just subscribe. And then you'll get a newsletter, and we send out copies of the TV show with the newsletter.
Kissyourplate.com?
Yeah, kissyourplate.com. Can you blend any? Yes, you can blend any type of vegetable together for the pickle jar. The Zoom cooking class is on my website. You would sign up for that. Thank you, Audrey. And I really enjoy working with you guys. I think, yes, now is a time to that we're all sheltered in place to really work on our cooking skills, gardening, if you can get outside to garden, and sharing recipes. And it's hard not being in person and not being able to taste the food, but I think it's a great learning opportunity. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, Audrey. Yeah, if you need to be in touch with me, it's just on my website. Do you have to move to another class, Ganat?
So I'll just mention we have 15 minutes to the next class.
Oh,
and it's the final class of the day coming up at 5 o'clock our time. And it's by an astrologer. So this is someone who's new to our group, and her name is something like Siok, although I don't know exactly. And she has been sent through Luke Elijah, who just finished speaking. So that'll be really interesting to hear about astrology.
nice.
Sherri, it's been a great class, really.
I have a quick question for Ginat and maybe for you, Sherri. So, and where, I forget, I had to go out of the room. Where are you located, Sherri?
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Okay. So when we made Aliyah from Boston, I had to get rid of all my things. I mean, they weren't so fresh anyhow, a lot of my agar-agar and, kuzu, and I miss those things. That was my go-to things for thickening sauces and everything. So, Ginat, are they available at Dubdavan? I haven't really looked there yet.
In which world?
In Israel, and near Zichron. Where do you buy yours?
What are you speaking
Well,
about?
like for agar-agar and kuzu,
Yeah. Those are available. Yeah.
Oh, they are, okay.
It's, macrobiotic food is wonderful because so much of it's dry, so you could store it, like your seaweeds and things like that. And we really want to encourage you to stock up just in case we hit a food crisis, get enough seaweed at least for 6 months, and grain and beans. And then all you have to do is, worry about your produce, which you can grow in your garden or grow in garden pots, some herbs and vegetables and things like that.
So even the seaweeds should only be kept for about 6 months?
No, you can keep seaweed for a really long time as long as it's in a dry place.
Okay.
But it's good to have, a little bit extra just in case, with all this pandemic stuff, we hit a crisis. Another crisis.
Thank you so much. I finally going to get the courage to make the Jell-O. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. Have you ever?
Well, I wanted to show it to you because somebody asked Ganon about it, and you guys are in such a hot climate. It's so refreshing.
It's so cooling. Yeah. Did you ever use chia seeds in your Jell-O, or do you not so much?
You can. I don't use chia seeds that much, but you can make puddings and things like that. My niece and I opened a restaurant last year, a breakfast restaurant, and she put them in pancakes, help them puff up, without egg.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much.
Sherri, questions about cost, the prices for Ed's lectures, and someone saying she didn't see it on your website.
Okay, so Ed's lectures are $20. If you attend, it's an hour and a half, and he leaves a half hour for questions. And then if you want the recording, it's $25. You just shoot me an email, and then I send you a permanent link for the recording. But they should be listed on my website under services. You just click on the date that you want to join. And I know that the time difference, a lot of you might want to just get the recording because the time is hard for you guys.
So how do we get the recordings?
You just email me and, I'll send you a list of them. And then if you want any of them, I send you a PayPal request.
Great, Sherri. Great class. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, great. I'm so glad the kitchen turned. I just moved into this house. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do the camera? But it worked out good if it's on an angle so you can see the stove. Well, keep